560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. This is how Republican Governor-elect Glenn Youngkin encapsulated his campaign during his victory speech last night.
We will invest the largest education budget in the history of the Commonwealth. We're going to invest in teachers, new facilities, special education. We're going to introduce choice within our public school system. How about that? Choice within the public school system. We're going to start with 20 charter schools, and we are going to make a down payment and close the gap on giving parents an opportunity to select where their kids go to school. Friends, we're going to embrace our parents, not ignore them. We're going to press forward with a curriculum that includes listening to parents' input, a curriculum that allows our children to run as fast as they can, teaching them how to think, enabling their dreams to soar. Friends, we are going to reestablish excellence in our schools.
Mm-hmm. And the good news for the Republican Party is that the Democrats, socialists, apparently believe that Terry McAuliffe is the model that should be followed going forward. This enlightening exchange between MSNBC's Nicole Wallace and former Obama campaign flag David Plouffe.
David Plouffe, I want to press on this. I think we know the answer to some of this. I watched Glenn Youngkin's interviews on Fox News, and he did nothing that he did not. I mean, he worshipped at the altar of Donald Trump on Fox News. He flew an insurrection flag at his rallies. He simply didn't. He played dumb about a Zoom rally. He did not really put much distance between himself and Donald Trump on the big lie or the deadly insurrection in which police officers were maimed by flagpoles. So I think that the real ominous thing is that critical race theory, which isn't real, turned the suburbs 15 points to the Trump insurrection endorsed Republican. What do Democrats do about that?
Mm-hmm. What do they do about that? Because shouldn't we just be tarnished, or shouldn't we be just branding every Republican as a Trump clone and telling parents they're liars and racists? David Plouffe says, yeah, that's what we should do.
And I think we need to go on the offense a little bit. And Terry McAuliffe tried to do this. Say it's a lie. They know it's a lie. But are you scared for your kids to learn about slavery or lynching or housing discrimination? Are we raising kids to be that weak? Like, I think sometimes we answer with facts and we don't believe people will believe these things. But they're not going to campaign on the level, Nicole. They are going to lie. They will say anything. If this is a boxing match, they're bringing heavier gloves and knives in their boots. And we have to understand that. I think the terrain for Democrats will be much better a year from now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ibram Kendi and Robin DiAngelo, among others, are just figments of the right-wing media's imagination and parents' imaginations, apparently. Okay, great. Go with that. I hope you do. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined with by Salena Zito, national political reporter, author of The Great Revolt, Inside the Populist Coalition, Reshaping American Politics. And, of course, you can check out her latest musings and commentary at SalenaZito.com. Salena, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
You had a late night because I saw you on Tucker commenting
too
on the elections returns yesterday. So what about Nicole Wallace and David Plouffe, that exchange there that, we need to go on offense and CRT. I'm all for it. Make 2022 a referendum on critical race theory.
It's so fascinating. You know, if anybody, and I know your listeners do, have been following all the reporting that I have been doing out of Virginia, where I warned in the past 6 weeks that the Virginia governor's race, lieutenant governor's race, attorney general's race, and the House of Delegates were all going to fall for the Democrats because they don't understand and they haven't been listening to the voters. That conversation that you just played with Nicole Wallace and David Plouffe underscores that even after the election, even after they lost, they still think that it is either about Trump. It never was. If you spent any time in Virginia, like I did, this election was never about Trump. And it is, and they also think it's about you need to have more emphasis on critical race theory. That's not true as well. Parents, whether they are white or black or Hispanic or Korean, which is what predominantly makes up the Virginia electorate, they don't want a curriculum that pits one set of children against the other set of children. It's not that they don't want them to learn about the history or have gapping holes in understanding what happened in this country as we were formed. It is about not inserting racial hot points that where history is sort of taught through the lens of race for their children, and that was what the election was about. But also, people are missing that the economy was also played a huge part. When I drove down to Virginia on my way down there a couple weeks ago, it cost me $72 to fill up my gas tank. $72, and I don't have a big car.
Yeah, I know. That's everybody's feeling that.
Salena, what are you doing? Why don't you go out and buy a $90,000 Tesla like everybody else?
Not a lot of charging stations on the way.
Reporters really don't make that much money.
Well, Salena, how much do you think parental freedoms had to do with this? Because I think I heard from one Democratic woman who voted for Youngkin who said, "I don't want lockdowns again. I homeschooled my kids for a year and a half," and I think that is huge. And also, if you have a Democratic governor, you're never going to be unmasked at school for the foreseeable future.
Well, yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah, you get to the core of it. And no matter what the subject was, whether it was the economy, whether it was lockdowns, whether it was school, whether it was inflation, the underscore of all of this is overreach. Look, voters sent to Washington last November, Democrats. However, they sent them with no mandate. They sent them with slim victories, from president to the control of the House to the U.S. Senate. And in fact, they didn't even have a victory in the Senate. It's a 50-50 split. So when you are and Democrats smartly ran on, we're going to bring things back to normal, and then like on January 21st. Oh, forget that. They completely forgot why voters sent them. They looked at the results and somehow thought, we can spend like drunken sailors. We can really socially re-engineer the entire country. Everybody loves us. No, voters didn't vote for you because they loved you. Voters voted for you because they were mad at the Republicans. And they wanted to put the brakes on. But instead of seeing that these were brake pedals, the Democrats believed they were given a gas pedal election and can do whatever they want. And that overreach is what turned voters off.
There was something that Terry McAuliffe said too, and I just go to Northern Virginia, Fairfax and Loudoun counties, where so much coverage has centered. So Fairfax County, the most populous county in Virginia, Biden won it by 42 points in November. McAuliffe won it only by 29. Loudoun County, Biden won it by 25 points in November. McAuliffe only by 10. And I remember on the whole parents and involvement in the curriculum and Terry McAuliffe, we have experts. We have experts for this in terms of selecting books and coursework for schools and so forth. Well, you're talking to a lot of professionals and people with means in places like Fairfax and Loudoun County. Number one, you're telling them what they don't like is not happening, and they know it's happening. And number two, you're saying we have experts. You shut up. You be quiet. We have experts. And, not everybody obviously flipped, but those are those are significant attrition in both counties that really spelled the difference for Youngkin.
It was suburban women. Suburban white women won this election for Glenn Youngkin. And he won it handily, not even like a little bit. And that is because of the way that the Democrats sort of talked down to the voters, as if, we know that whole "we know better than you" thing just doesn't work anymore.
Well, and then think about it too. I mean, Vice President Harris had a campaign ad that ran for McAuliffe during church services. 300 church services played that. And then President Biden came down there, and that didn't move the needle at all. So what does that say about the upcoming midterm elections?
Well, this morning I've been watching Morning Joe and CNN. Sort of, if you wanted sort of a snap look at how Democrats view this, and Democrat experts and strategists, how they view this election, that's what you watch. And they keep repeating the same mistake that they kept making. They think, well, if we only spent more money. No, voters never wanted you to spend $3.5 trillion. You didn't run on that. They didn't elect you for that. So I don't think that they get it. And to your point about Nicole Wallace and David Plouffe talking about we need more CRT, no. They're going to continue to make the same mistake because they don't get out there and listen to the people who place them in office. What they do is listen to themselves and to each other, who all share the same worldview, which is remarkably different than the people that elected them. Worldview.
In New Jersey, with really a surprising performance by Chitterelli, and maybe he ekes out that victory, is that more of a referendum when we're talking about Phil Murphy on COVID lockdowns and COVID management, COVID policies, because he has been one of the most vociferous and sort of imperious COVIDians in a governor's mansion anywhere in the country?
Yeah, it's the same theme. It's overreach, and overreach on the lockdowns is it was and is the problem. I wrote about the New Jersey race too. I said, keep an eye over there because something is happening. And I mean, the arrogance in people not understanding that is really kind of remarkable. And even the Republican establishment didn't invest any money in this in New Jersey because they also didn't understand what the voters they had earned by default for not being Democrats. And I think there's a lesson for Republicans there as well. Listen to what voters are telling you, because the reason people get voted out is because they don't listen to what voters tell them.
She is Salena Zito. She's a national political reporter. The book, of course, pick it up, bestseller, The Great Revolt Inside the Populist Coalition, Reshaping American Politics, and continuing to, as of last night. And
Yes,
check out all of her writings and reporting at selenazito.com. Salena, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Yep, always a pleasure. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Grandview buys homes. Hi, I'm Tom Detlich, and I have great news for people who want to sell their home, particularly a home that needs work, but are worried about the current health conditions we are living with.